What's going on, y'all? Me and William back here for the Media Madmen podcast. This is a kind of impromptu podcast because I wanted to speak to dear William here about Robert Downey Jr.'s return to Marvel. An unexpected turn of events.
Yes, RDJ returning not as Tony Stark, but as Victor Von Doom.
Yes, and I've seen a little bit of a mixed bag online of people who like the decision and don't. And I have to say, I think it is an interesting decision, but I think that it definitely reeks of Marvel being very desperate right now.
Yeah, I don't dislike it, but I don't love it either. Mm-hmm. It just seems to me as a way to get butts in seats and get people talking about the MCU again and reminiscent and nostalgic over the phases with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Yes.
And I feel like linking Tony Stark in the MCU through Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal to now Doctor Doom kind of does a disservice to Doctor Doom as a character if they lean into the whole anchor being Iron Man type thing.
I have heard, though, that apparently Iron Man, I think, from an audience perspective, obviously he was the anchor being, but I've heard that he is not the anchor being of the MCU.
I saw, I don't know if this is true, but I saw a leak about the plot of Avengers Kang Dynasty, and it claimed that the anchor being of 616 is actually Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
That's what I figured. I didn't know who the anchor being was, but I figured it was Tom Holland, which I'm not opposed to if that's a new concept that they're introducing. Spidey's Marvel's number one character and has been since his inception, basically. Oh, well, let me ask you this: have you seen that there's versions of Iron Man in the comics, right, that turn into Doom, which I think Marvel is smart enough to not do that and not make that decision. I think they need to make Doom with Downey he is Victor Von Doom. He's not a Tony Stark variant who was raised in Latveria as Doom.
I agree. If that's the direction they go in, I'll be happy with the casting. But if he's somehow related to Tony Stark in any way, like variant wise, I'll be a little disappointed. But like you said, in the comics, Doctor Doom has become Iron Man at one point and deeming himself the infamous Iron Man.
Yeah.
Where he wears a silver Iron Man suit with his iconic green cloak. So it's been done before. The characters have intertwined their histories before.
Yeah.
But
I think they're going to change up Downey's look a lot. Even, obviously, he's going to have the mask probably for a majority of his scenes. But I think when we see him without the mask, I think, they're going to definitely... I mean,
he's definitely not going to have the same beard.
No. I mean, just look at how much they, frumped him up in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
He was damn near unrecognizable in that movie. So, they got makeup artists who can deal with all this kind of shit.
Yeah. And if that's the direction they go in, I'm happy with the casting.
I think they said, the Russo brothers, which is another thing, they brought the Russo brothers back. And something interesting was that Downey said he was not going to come back unless the Russos returned. But one thing that is, I just think by the time we get to, Doomsday and Secret Wars, it's just not going to feel as rewarding because Phase 4 and 5 for the most part has been so just lackluster and mediocre, and some that I think it was the worst stuff that the MCU has ever put out.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I hadn't thought about it like that. I guess if you consider Phase 1 through 3 also build up to this, since it's going to be more multiversal, I can see how after watching all of it and bringing back those characters and maybe some legacy characters from Sony or Fox.
Yeah.
How looking at Secret Wars and Doomsday as the culmination of all of Marvel's film history, maybe it would feel satisfying. But if, like you said, if you were just looking at Phase 4 and 5, and this is just going to be the finale for those phases, it lackluster is a good word for it.
Yeah, it just has not been I mean, we've talked about it many times in our regular videos. They've just oversaturated everything, and people got tired of it pretty quick because, I mean, really in phases, 1 through 3, they were making the same movies over and over again with the same stories and plot points and stuff like that. They weren't very complex movies. The only ones that I would say were, different were Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, I would say in Avengers 1, Infinity War, and Endgame, those movies, shook it up and did something a little different. But for the most part, they were all movies that were carried by their charismatic leads. And now when we don't really care about the majority of these characters that they've introduced or, ones that were introduced in phases 1 through 3 that have carried on, such as, Falcon, who's the new Captain America, Doctor Strange, they haven't really developed those characters in any interesting ways that has, made me latch on to them like I was the characters in phases 1 through 3.
Yeah. I'm interested to see Anthony Mackie as in a movie as Captain America because
I do love Anthony Mackie as Captain America. Yeah. I think I like Anthony Mackie just as an actor in general, and I thought as mediocre as the Falcon and Winter Soldier show was, he was the best thing on that show, and his character development on that show was legitimately good. Yeah. But the movie just looks like another Winter Soldier, seen this before movie, spy espionage.
With a CGI third act.
Yeah. Yes.
Harrison Ford, Red Hulk.
I can't wait to watch Harrison Ford's MCU debut on Disney+.
Hudson said you would say that.
I've said it before.
Yeah.
I'm saying it again. It's a shame. No, I guess we could touch on the Harrison Ford thing a little bit. I never cared about Ross ever when he was played by William Hurt, but I kind of wish he was just played by Harrison Ford the whole time. I still wouldn't have cared about Ross, but at least I would have been able to been like, hey, it's my boy Harrison Ford. It's Indy.
Yeah. The character hasn't really been too interesting, and was in The Incredible Hulk, Civil War, Black Widow, and Avengers Endgame, I believe.
Infinity War and Endgame.
And Infinity War, and so, but hasn't really done much. William Hurt didn't get to do much. And then now Harrison Ford gets to be Red Hulk. And so
the best thing though about Harrison Ford's MCU debut, and especially that his first movie he gets to be Red Hulk, was when he was doing the Indiana Jones promotional stuff, press tour, and they're like, "Are you going to be Red Hulk in the new Captain America movie?" And he goes, "What's a Red Hulk?"
Did you see him at Comic-Con? The photos of him hulking out?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
I'll obviously have him when we put this
he
up.
Got on stage and and he said, when asked what it took to play like Red Hulk, he said it took not caring. And so
that is
letting go and not caring.
I love Harrison Ford so much, man. My absolute favorite thing about Harrison Ford is that he has a deep hatred for Star Wars and Han Solo. Outside of those first 2 movies, he enjoyed playing them in those, but he has a deep love and passion for playing Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
which is just so funny.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why he chose this project, like another.
It's a paycheck role.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not going to see it in the theater unless on the off chance that it is good, because this movie has gone through so many reshoots, and every movie in Hollywood, especially these big budget movies, have reshoots. But it's the joke they made in The Boys season 4 this season with A-Train, where did he say the A-Train movie had just wrapped and they had done their 8th reshoot, and it was like the most expensive movie ever made.
Yeah. And they're saying like it was a good thing because they broke a record.
Yeah. But yeah. Do you have any questions on anything else Downey related?
What are your thoughts on him getting paid allegedly like $80 million?
I think I heard it was over over 80 million, and all the perks he got, like I think like Disney private jet and like a base camp, like where his trailer is going to be and stuff. That was all stuff he had before. I mean, I'm not surprised I think it's the same thing with Hugh Jackman where, oh, fuck, we're in trouble. Gotta go to Hugh Jackman's house with a dump truck full of money.
Oh.
Although I guess that might not be true because apparently Kevin Feige did not want Hugh Jackman to return as Wolverine. I think in an interview I saw recently was Ryan Reynolds was saying that they were originally going to punt on Deadpool 3 because they didn't really have their why for making the movie. And he said that his thing with Deadpool is like, we shouldn't just make sequels because we can. Like, we have to have a why. And an hour before his meeting with Marvel, where he was supposed to give his pitch, Hugh called and said he wanted to do it. So they just completely made up the story on the fly and told him they had Hugh Jackman back, which would make sense because we've talked about off camera about how Kevin Feige was telling him to not come back, and we thought it was maybe a Disney thing, but I guess it was a Ryan Reynolds thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was going to go see the next Avengers, regardless of who they cast as Doom.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't really affect like us that much.
It's going to make $1 billion.
Yeah, and that's what Disney's goal is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of $1 billion, Deadpool and Wolverine just this past Sunday crossed $1 billion.
I saw that. That's impressive.
Yep. I mean, look what happens when you shake it up and do something a little different than the same old tired stuff you've been pumping out since the beginning. Get a nice R-rated movie. And I know I cut it out of our episode, but we were saying it did feel a little
sanitized compared to
sanitized. And I think that was more so with kind of the grittiness of the first two because they were lower budget. But this third Deadpool, the second Deadpool has 90 fucks and the new one has 118. So
yeah. So maybe we were just a little off about that.
Maybe I think it might have been what your point was the first time we filmed was that we had just watched The Boys. So we were probably a little, desensitized to it.
Speaking of The Boys, we didn't get to it in our video, but they announced Vought Rising, a prequel series with your boy, Soldier Boy.
Boy.
What are your thoughts on that announcement?
I wish The Boys had held off on the spinoffs in general until after the regular show concluded. But I do think doing spinoffs in that world is a very smart move because there's a lot of pockets in that universe that you can explore. Obviously, they've done Gen V. Now we're going to get a Vought Rising with Jensen Ackles and
Aya Cash, I believe.
Yes, Stormfront, which is I love that line in season 3. Fucking heroism, still a thing, eh? It's my thing. I founded it in '52. Me and this other soup named Liberty. Man, was she a firecracker? But yeah, very happy about that. Yeah, I was surprised because I'm happy because I feel like introducing Soldier Boy in season 3 to have him just on the shelf in season 4 was a big mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. I
have to hold this bitch. But yeah, I mean, I'm very happy about it. It's good. It's going to be cool to see Vought's, origins per se.
Yeah.
And how Stormfront plays into that.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to bring back the young actor for Stan Edgar.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was good. I didn't think he was just doing a direct Giancarlo Esposito impression, but he was more so trying to capture the essence of him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. But yeah. Season 4 was a little bit of a letdown, though, for me.
Yeah.
Would you say after watching it, it didn't stick with you as much as other seasons?
After watching it, yeah. But while watching it, I was as engaged. But after it was over, it kind of just, I was like, dang, nothing really happened this season. like the status quo.
Yeah, the plot doesn't kick off till episode 5. Yeah. When in season 3, the plot kicks off episode 2 after we've had an episode to reconvene with all our characters and see where they're at. Yeah, just a little wasted. But yeah, I'm tired of. What are you doing? Oh, I'm tired of holding this, so we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, we're gonna call it here.
All right, see you later.
Later.